All right, we're back on the Sports Authority, Local12.com digital columnist and editor. Our man on the Bengals beat, Richard Skinner, joins us, and we talked about it a couple weeks ago, Skinny. Another measuring stick that just stuck the Bengals, 36-10 to the Steelers. Where would you like to start here?
I mean, it was everything, right? It was the 0 for 13 on third downs. It was special teams play early. It was special teams play late. Now they did have the great fake punt return on special teams. That was or the fake on the punt. I like that. Defense couldn't put pressure on Ben when it blitzed. Then when they didn't blitz, they couldn't cover. And there's a myriad of stuff we can talk about in regards to some of that. But I think it is proven. The two games against Baltimore and Pittsburgh, it shows you they are light years away. Light years away.
Yeah, and it's interesting hearing the post game and hearing Joe Burrow talk and T. Higgins, and it doesn't sound like Joe Burrow is ever going to come out of a game. He sees that as quitting. And then T. Higgins came on and said, "You've got to finish the game."
Yeah, there's a lot. That's a mentality, though. And I remember Marvin Lewis. I can't remember. I don't know if you're in this marketplace, but you grew up in Ohio. And you may remember the game. It was a Bengals-Browns game, and a Browns safety. And I can't think of his name. Blew up Chad Johnson at the end of a game. There was a meaningless play.
Was it Lee Bodden?
No, I can't remember. Russell maybe. But anyway, blew him up at the end of a meaningless game. And the question was, why was he in the game at that point to get blown up like that? And he said, "You start the game, you finish the game." And I think that's just it's a general belief in the league. I mean, there's some circumstances. Ben got taken out for the last series, and that was really nothing. That made sense. But that's just the belief in the league. You start the game, you finish the game. I'm not sure I always agree with it, but that's their belief.
Is it understandable to think that Zach's comment was they wanted to sort of build some momentum, I guess, going into next week?
But the momentum was you ran it off to Travion Williams at that point.
Right.
So what Ryan Finley can't do that. I think some of it, maybe you just want Joe to be out there to feel the pain with the rest of his teammates. I don't mean that in a bad way, just to know that your guys are suffering. You need to suffer along with them and be a part of that. And maybe that's it. But yeah, there's just and they scoff at that notion when that question gets asked, don't they? I mean, everybody scoffs at that notion. Sometimes it's probably the right thing to do, but they don't believe in it.
Now, there was some good feelings coming off the win against Tennessee. You have the bye week. But in reality, could you really have expected this team without Geno Atkins, Bobby Hart, Darius Phillips, LaShawn Sims, Joe Mixon, Jonah Williams, and Mackenzie Alexander leaving early in the game? Did you expect – I mean, those guys almost all have to be healthy for you to go to a place where you never win to get a win.
Yeah, I'm going to flip that on the offense, but let's start on the defense. And shame on me. Maybe I thought that it really was a hobbled Ben, that maybe you could get some pressure on him. They haven't been explosive down the field. It's been a lot of dink and dunk and get out of his hands. I think he came into the game with the quickest release in the NFL this year at 2.1 seconds, getting out of his hand. And I thought, maybe you don't need top quality corners. But honestly, and I still can't remember the guy's name, 37 Davis. I mean, he was a practice squad guy. Tony Brown had played one defensive snap all season. Now, he played a few games for Green Bay in the past, but I think you saw why Tony Brown's been a backup for the most part. And then Mackenzie Alexander goes out, and I don't know if you were on for that. I know you were on for some of the post-game. Jesse Bates even said if something else was happening, he was going to be the next cornerback. Yeah. So that's how bad off things were. I mean, John Ross got hurt in practice this week repping at corner. They knew they were going to be thin, and it proved itself. So, yeah, I think in retrospect you go, look, if he can stand erect and just sling his right arm, he's going to shred these guys, and he did for the most part.
Yeah, and he's got a bunch of different weapons. Deontay Johnson ended up leading the team in receiving, but it could be Juju,
Claypool,
it could be Claypool,
tight end.
Eric Ebron, who I think got banged up a little bit. But offensively, you had, welcome to the Bengals, Quentin Spain. You come in, the week you come in, you're playing the majority of the game, less than a week, and now you're being asked to play a position that you've never played before. But I think Spain and really Adeniji did pretty well at tackle today.
Yeah, they gave up 4 sacks as a unit, and a couple of those came late, and you weren't going to hold them sackless anyway in all likelihood. I guess it was a surprise to everybody that Jonah Williams couldn't go. It felt like he was trending towards playing this week. They listed him as questionable, and honestly, usually guys listed as questionable play. It's very rare that a guy listed questionable does not play, and so Jonah didn't play. He was not inactive, so he was still actually active on the sideline for the game, just opted not to play him. And so, Adeniji ends up starting to the left. Quentin starts at right. How about that in a 2-week span? You come in and one day later you're playing left guard, and off the bye week somehow you were maybe hoping to compete for the left guard, and they're throwing you in at right tackle because they just don't have anybody. And I think that goes back to I guess we're fooling ourselves to think that a team that's that beat up can beat a team as good as Pittsburgh.
Yeah, and I think
or even compete, maybe.
And I think he was asked the question about Spain at tackle, and Zach Taylor said, Who else you want me to play?
I mean, they literally had nobody else. I mean, that's exactly where they were. I really thought Quentin was going to be more of an emergency guy, and I think you saw the emergency. He had to start.
Yeah. You look at the remaining schedule here. Washington is next. Does what happened today, if people can come back, if they can get some guys healthy, if they can get some coaches back, with 4 assistants not making the trip because of COVID, do you still think that this team can build momentum going into next season with the schedule they have remaining?
It's a good question, and I guess I would use the post-Baltimore loss as a litmus test a little bit for that, right? Bounce back, played the Browns down to a late touchdown throw by Baker Mayfield for winning that game. Came back, then beat Houston. Coming off the bye, we thought this was the litmus test of where they are specifically moving forward, and they're just not in that upper, even close to that group of teams yet. Yeah, these next 4 games, Washington, I'm doing these probably out of order. Washington, Dallas at home, Miami, and the Giants at home. I think I've got that in the correct order before you play Pittsburgh again, I believe. That, to me, that 4-game stretch of games, look, you can't go 0-4 and make me believe you're having some progress. You go 2-2, I'll think better of you. You go 3-1, I'll think a whole lot better of you. But I think these are big 4 games for Zach Taylor, these players, and this coaching staff, because today I'm going to chalk it up to injuries and just a better football team beat your ass. I'm not sure I can believe anything else moving forward.
Yeah. Is there a chance that the Bengals get a win in the division before the season is out?
That's a great question. And that Baltimore game, depending on seed, right, can be the typical who's playing quarterback that day game for them, and you kind of steal a win. But in a legitimate circumstance, if you can show me some progress over the next few, get healthy, and that's a big part of it. I mean, you're not playing Pittsburgh without basically your full roster. Then I want to see then the next litmus test is see what you do on Monday night at home against Pittsburgh. See if you can play with a full deck with a little more momentum on your side. But got to pull that momentum off the next few games.
Okay, Richard Skinner, Local12.com digital editor and columnist. You can see all of his work on our website, and that includes the Skinny podcast. Thanks, Skinny.
You bet.
We'll be right back.